Hello, everyone. Welcome back to College Football Coast to Coast. Jacob and Tyler here, recapping week two. Crazy week two around college football, especially inside the top 25. And we'll get right into it right away. Big game, Big 12, future SEC team, and the SEC powerhouse going at it in Austin, Texas. Great football game for a noon game. Alabama pulls it out as the number one ranked team, 20-19, late in the game, getting a field goal to win the game. Texas leaving a little bit too much time on the clock after they went down and got a field goal of their own. It was a great game, Tyler.
Yeah, very good game. It was big noon kickoff. You had just Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt on the call. I think they did a phenomenal job calling the game. We had this on our parlay. We took Alabama to cover. That did not go as this Texas team, man, especially with Quinn Ewers, this offense was just on the money all day. And it just sucks for Texas fans. They had to deal with this the last time they played Alabama. McCoy got injured in the first quarter, and now we see it again with a true freshman quarterback in Quinn Ewers. But you got to give it to Texas. There's no moral victories in college football, but I feel like Texas, they've been like, we're back. But honestly, I think this could be the game. This could be the measuring stick that they can use going forward. They're going to be joining the SEC here in a couple of years with Oklahoma, but Alabama, this was the most undisciplined that I've ever seen in Alabama under Nick Saban. Just like 15 penalties, over 100 yards of those penalty yards, which was just unacceptable for this Alabama team. Did not look like a number one on Saturday afternoon there, but I think the really downside to this was the play of Will Anderson. I mean, he sees himself as the best college football player, and I do myself. But I don't know what was going on in his head. He was just making some boneheaded mistakes, offside penalties, like 3 or 4 offside penalties, and then he had that one. I think it was in like the third quarter, had a personal foul. But yeah, this Alabama offense looked inept, and it didn't look like the Alabama offense we saw last year with Mechie, Jameson Williams. Really can really put the top off on the defense. So very concerning for Alabama, but Texas, I mean, you got to feel pretty good. I know you're going to lose Quinn Ewers for like 4 to 6 weeks, but if you can ride the ship, I think this Texas team can win the Big 12.
Yeah, definitely showed that they can be the future team that could give Alabama some problems when we get to the SEC West here in the next couple of years, for sure. Moving on from that game to our next game, stay with one SEC team that has been talked about a lot over the offseason and arguably the best team right now in the Sun Belt Conference, and that's Appalachian State going on the road and facing sixth-ranked Texas A&M. Great football game, battle in the trenches, as we talked about. It really was a line of scrimmage type game. App State's run game was going all day on A&M, and really A&M didn't have an answer on defense for them, even though it was a low-scoring game. As we can see, it was kind of interesting, and I felt like it was suspected though. I mean, it was just one of those where it was like, I don't know, and I think App State's been circling this game for a couple of years, knowing that they're going to College Station to play a team that has been on the fence. And I know it frustrates me that Texas A&M, was ranked sixth in the first place, and it kind of showed that they're not even close to being a sixth ranked team in the country after this loss.
Yeah, I tell you, man, App State is a program that's born for these moments. I mean, go back all the way to the Michigan upset and now this. I don't think it's as big as the Michigan upset since Appalachian State was like a FCS. I think it was like I don't know how it was like a one AA school back in the day. Now they converted to FCS. So now that they're a Sun Belt school. But yeah, Texas A&M, I don't know what Jimbo Fisher's thinking of rolling out Haynes King out there. He's just not the answer. I mean, at some point in the game, at half, you only had 7 points. Like pretty much your only offense was that 95-yard kickoff return, and that was your pretty much only offense. Texas A&M really couldn't move the ball at all. It's just Haynes King only had 97 yards passing, and that's just going to lose you every college football game. I mean, you can't play this vanilla offense anymore like how Jimbo did back in the day in 2014. That's long gone. You have to have an offense down. College football, the era that we live in, is you got to be able to score points and you have a good defense. Texas A&M has one of the best defenses in the country. The problem is the quarterback, and I really hinted on our Southeast Sports talk about Texas A&M when we previewed them. Like this Texas A&M, defense has the talent. You have the offensive talent with A-Chain and then Anais Smith. But the problem is, you get a guy like Max Johnson, but you don't even use him. So what was even the point? But I got to give all the credit to App State. I think their defense really played well. I think their run game against Texas A&M's defensive line was really eye-opening for the Aggies. But, hey, you got to give it to App State. The Sun Belt had a very good Saturday.
Yeah, all credit to Chase Bryce in that App State offense and that great win. Moving over to our Pac-12 Big Ten matchup for the week, Washington State traveled across halfway across the country to face off against Wisconsin and Camp Randall. Tough place to play, one of the toughest in college football to play. Washington State didn't seem like they have a problem with it, and I know that you watched this game and you were kind of suspect on whether Wisconsin could hold on to this or not. And it showed. I mean, Washington State came out and ended up, winning pretty narrow margin. I mean, 17-14, they end up winning on the road. But it comes down to, at the end of the day, Wisconsin not being able to put points on the board. I mean, this is the reoccurring theme for Wisconsin every year. Graham Mertz is still there. You would think by now they would figure it out, some sort of offensive scheme for him and where he fits with that offense, because they really went all in with him, and just nothing yet for them in a couple of seasons that have been pretty lackluster. And Washington State, all credit to them, went in and fought in a tough game, and they knew it was a big game, and they showed up.
Yeah, like Texas A&M, I feel like Wisconsin's on the same boat, just running out Graham Mertz every week. I just don't think that he's the answer. I mean, you have a guy in Braylon Allen. He's one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. He has experience with this Wisconsin team. I mean, Wisconsin's always been a team that's going to win ball games, is going to stay in ball games with their defense. They did just that. But their offense were just inept the whole entire game. Washington State did just enough on the offense. They didn't have to do too much. I mean, they did have some struggles in moving the ball, but this Washington State team has always been pesky in the Pac-12. They've been showing that ever since the Mike Leach days. So they showed here in a hostile environment in Camp Randall. So a lot of question marks are around that Big Ten West of who is going to be that team, because every team in that division already has one loss already. Purdue lost to Penn State in the opening weekend. Wisconsin loses here. Iowa loses to Iowa State this week. And then Nebraska, we know what's happened to them. And Northwestern loses to Duke. So who knows who's going to win that? It's just a wide open one. I think that Minnesota is the only team that hasn't lost yet. So they're number one in the Big Ten West as of right now. But, yeah, got to give credit to Washington State. This could be a win that, can vault them into Pac-12 contention.
Yeah, for sure. And I think going back to that, talking about the Big Ten West, and, a lot of teams have lost. I mean, everybody except for one has lost a game so far this year. I think the biggest thing there to note is that when UCLA comes over and joins the party, and USC comes over and joins the party over there in the Big Ten, they're going to be put in the West. And that's if, divisions stand at that point. But it really takes a lot of teams out of contention, like Wisconsin. I mean, really, UCLA to me seems like a better team than Wisconsin at this stage of the ball game, and USC is definitely a better team than Wisconsin. And I think they would be the best team in that division. And of course, we'll get to that here soon when this all does happen the next couple of years. But for sure, I mean, I think it's very eye-opening, and it just shows you how dominant the Big Ten East is. And it has been, and it will be for the next couple of years until they get some new blood in there. It's coming. It's not there yet. And a team that is going to get some new blood soon, hopefully at the head coaching position, and we'll get to that in our news later on in the show, is Nebraska. They could not hold on in Lincoln. They faced off against Georgia Southern, another Sun Belt team going on the road and getting a win. Uh, Great for that program. Absolutely great. They struggled a lot last year. A below 500 season last year, comes back and gets a big win against a Big Ten team that's struggling. I think it was a good pick by them to go and play Nebraska. They're collecting a fat check and they're collecting a dub and going back to Georgia. So good for them on a 45-42 win. They hung on, and defense at the very end came out of defense, and they absolutely balled out. I mean, you think that, at the end of it, it's an 87 points is the total amount of points in this game, and defense is the thing that ends up winning the game at the end. Great for them and great for that program. On the other side of things, Tyler, where does Nebraska go from here?
I don't know. The wheels fell off in week 0 when they played in Dublin against Northwestern. They, on the first offensive drive, Casey Thompson finds a wide open receiver, Trey Palmer, for a touchdown. You think after that, all right, this game is going to be a blowout. Nebraska is going to be legit. But then, Northwestern and Ryan Helinski just had a game of his life there. So Nebraska started the season 0-1. And they go home. I forgot who they played. It wasn't someone really worth noting, but they really struggled in week 2. They got the victory, but it wasn't like a blowout victory in all fashion. So they're 1-1. They're just happy, to get the first win of Scott Frost's season in 2022. But now you go here, you're at home, you're a heavy favorite, you're a double-digit favorite against Georgia Southern, and then you lay an egg. And that all falls on to the head coach. And I think that Scott Frost should have been gone after last year. People are saying, oh, this is the best 3-9 team in the league. I don't know if that's even really the case. Oh, you're the best 3-9 team. Good for you. Here's your gold star. If you went 3-9, Scott Frost, he did a good job at UCF. UCF, this is why, they're on the map because of Scott Frost. I think personally he should have stayed there at UCF. I think he could have built a powerhouse like Cincinnati is with Luke Fickell, but he wanted to go back to where he played college football in Nebraska. But this Nebraska team just looks lifeless on the defensive side. Back in the day in the 90s, Nebraska was called, their nickname on defense was the Black Shirts. And that this defense ever since did not look like that on Saturday. Georgia Southern used to be a team who ran the triple option. Now they kind of run the pro style offense. But I think that Georgia Southern had the best hire of the offseason with Clay Helton, bringing him on, the former USC. Didn't work out there, but Georgia Southern, was a team, a couple of years ago, they were a 10-win team. And now, they're starting the season 2-0. They get a road test this week. And, Sun Belt is looking wide open between App State, Georgia Southern, maybe even potential of South Alabama. They continue to put up points on the offensive side. But, yeah, Nebraska, this is going to be another rough year, especially now that Scott Frost is out the door. But like you mentioned, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on to our next game, number 24, Tennessee, going on the road to face number 17, Pitt. 34-27 win for Tennessee and the Vols on the road. Great game, excellent game. Kind of for Pitt, it was kind of the same game as their game last week against West Virginia. It looked identical, just facing off against another team. It seems like Pitt's going to be that team that's going to hang on by a thread and win some close games this year. And I don't see them staying inside the top 20 for that reason. Hanging on by a thread against the Tennessee team that looked like they struggled a lot in the first half. They really didn't know their identity in the first half and just couldn't figure it out. And you come down to the end of the game, I get that, on Pitt's side, Slovis gets hurt. He's injured, leaves the game, and you have a young guy that comes in and basically has to carry the load for that team. And he was injured. He was limping around all over the place and couldn't run at all. And it was really a Ben Roethlisberger type offense in that stadium. And it was he just had to get rid of the ball quick. And Tennessee was bringing the house every time because they knew that the stage, he had to get rid of the ball. And if not, he was going to get sacked. And it came down to the last seconds, and Pitt had a chance, and that ultimately went away because of Tennessee's defense and then coming up big. at the end of the game there. But excellent game, and Tennessee looks poised, and I expect them to put up a fight in the SEC.
Yeah, you thought that this was going to be a runaway win for Pitt in the first half. I mean, Tennessee's defense looked very hapless in the first half. Pittsburgh had 2 of their 3 offensive possessions. They scored a touchdown, all big plays. They had a 76-yard run, then they had a 57-yard pass on a beautiful throw by Slovis. It really sucked to see Keaton Slovis go out with an injury. I'm not saying that Pittsburgh still wins this game, but you got to give credit to Tennessee's offense. They really bounced back after going down 17-7. They really didn't back down from the challenge. As this game did go into overtime, Tennessee was able to find their star receiver Cedric Tillman in the end zone. In Pittsburgh they moved the ball a little bit, but on a 4th down, Tennessee's defense stepped up. So this is a really big win for Tennessee. I really thought that if they win this game, this could potentially be a 9-win or a 10-win season. So now that's realistic. They get a little tune-up game this weekend before they get Akron this week, and then they to face Florida, who's a really good team. I know that they lost to Kentucky, but Kentucky is going to be a team that's going to be atop of the SEC East, along with Georgia. But Pittsburgh, I think even with the loss, they've looked really good their first 2 games, both high-scoring shootouts. So the defense needs to get better before ACC play. But I think this could be a team, once again, that we could see for competing in the ACC championship game.
Yeah, Pitt just got to stay healthy. I mean, you lose your captain on defense in the 4th quarter there towards the end of the game, and you lose your quarterback, your transfer from USC, who's the leader on offense there. So, I mean, you were playing shorthanded there at the end. They need to get healthy this week and get ready for some ACC play. And I think they'll be ready to go for that. And then moving to our last game to cover on our recap for week 2, that's Baylor, number 9 Baylor, heading out to Provo, Utah. Could not hang on versus a number 21 ranked BYU team that put up 26 points, 6-point victory over Baylor in a tough, physical game. And it was like that last year. And, Baylor came out on top last year playing at home. And it seems like home field advantage was the story of this series between these 2 teams. And all credit to BYU. They look like a great team this year. And they really could be the team to watch in the group of 5, or, group of 5, that being independent right now. They really look great, and I hope that they might be that team to squeak in that top 10 spot at the end of the season, and I hope they do for their sake, because they've struggled for a long time, and it seems like they got the right pieces there in the coaching staff and on the field in order to go deep.
Yeah, this was pretty much the same story like last year's game. It was a very physical game. It was a 10-6 game in favor of BYU going into the half. Both of the quarterbacks, they have all the talent in the world, but they really struggled in this game. You just got to give credit to the defensive schemes. I think that BYU has one of the best defense in the independent, and then Baylor has one of the best defenses in the Big 12. You could say along with Texas. Texas's defense really made a statement against Alabama. But going back to this game, this was a really back and forth game in the 3rd quarter. Baylor came out, they scored a touchdown, and BYU was like, oh, not so fast. We're going to keep grinding at you. So, Baylor was up 13-10, and then BYU scored on back-to-back offensive possessions. So this game did go into overtime. It did not only take 1 overtime, it took 2 overtimes. Like we saw in the NFL on Sunday, the kickers had a problem in the first overtime. Both kickers missed on their field goal attempts, so it went to a 2nd overtime. So Baylor wasn't able to find the end zone, but BYU was. But this is a huge win for BYU's sake if they want to make it to a New Year's Six bowl game. We talked about it last week. BYU has a gauntlet of a schedule. They now have to face Oregon coming up, and they have Notre Dame in South Bend, and then they host Arkansas, which is a team that vaulted into the top 10 after their win against South Carolina. But Baylor, this is really no time to panic. I think they can be a team. I know that you picked them to win the Big 12. I had Baylor losing this game early on, but this could be a 10-2 or 11-1 season. I think their schedule really sets up nicely for them.
Absolutely. And that's all for our week 2 recap. We're going to dive into week 3 here, and our week 3 preview and games of the week is brought to you by Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company. Go check them out. They are in Houston, Texas, just south of town there. They are in the Heights, and they have a beautiful view of downtown. Our boy over from Sports Scramble, Chet, headed out there a couple of weeks ago and spoke with them and had a great time with them. And we look forward to getting out there as well and bringing you guys some content from there. But go check them out and let us know what you think of what they got, because they have a extensive list of beer to choose from. Not only beer, they do have other things as well, and pizza. They have great food, and it looks like it's a great time. So we'll have to get out there, and if you guys do get out there, send us a picture. Here's a picture, tag us in it, and let us know what you think. But moving on to the games of the week, first in the ACC, Texas Tech going on the road to face the Wolfpack. NC State is ranked number 16 right now. That is interesting. And, man, NC State looks like they are struggling right now to find out who they are early in this season. So this is a great game, too. Texas Tech last week, great game against Houston. That was a crazy game. And this is going to be a great game, I think. I'm probably going to take NC State at home, just with the home field advantage there. But Texas Tech looks great. This could be a field goal game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really close game. I know that NC State is open up as a 9.5. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think that NC State has the capabilities of winning this by 10 points. So, yeah, they really struggled in their season opener against East Carolina. The quarterback play wasn't great. So hopefully in this game, the offense shows up. Texas Tech had a rough go, especially stopping Clayton Tune against Houston. But Texas Tech, that was a great win for them, beating a top 25 team. And now they get back-to-back weeks to be able to knock off a top 25 team in NC State. NC State is playing at home, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech, this Red Raider team, because this offense is legit, and I just don't know that NC State has the weapons on the defensive side to stop them. So I could see this like a 34-31 type of game. I think that NC State finally finds their rhythm against a lackluster Texas Tech defense. So I'm going to go 34-31 NC State. They get it done at home.
Yeah, I'd say about the same with that. I'm probably going to go I'll probably go 31-28 in this game. It's going to be a close game. And then moving to our second ACC matchup, it is an ACC versus SEC matchup. Number 13, Miami, kind of lurking under the shadows, is going on the road to College Station to face off 24-ranked Texas A&M. Yes, they are still ranked barely. I don't know how. After losing such a game, I mean, they dropped a long ways. And this is going to be a good game, I think. I think this has the potential for Miami covering the spread, whatever that may be. I think Miami can win this game single-handedly with offense. Defensively, they're okay. I would like to see them step up a little bit more on defense. But I think A&M is just not where they need to be, and they're falling fast.
Yeah. Well, I know that you were saying that Miami is going to cover the spread, but actually Texas A&M is a 6-point home favorite. But
Right.
yeah, looking at Miami, this was a team that put up 70 points against Bethune-Cookman. They kind of struggled last week against Southern Miss. I mean, Southern Miss was leading at one point. It was 10-7, but then Miami and Tyler Van Dyke stormed back. So I think the offensive side, yes, Miami has the advantage. The defensive side is probably still Texas A&M. I just think that how's the secondary of Texas A&M, because Miami really has some dudes on the outside that can beat you down the field. And Tyler Van Dyke, he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the ACC. All the hype is around Clemson's quarterback and DJ Uiagalelei, and then NC State's quarterback. I can't remember his name. Can you remember his name?
For
NC State.
Oh man, it's gonna hurt. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. NC State fans, if you're there, please help us out. But I'm actually going to go with Texas A&M at home here. I know that they just lost to App State, but I just think that I don't know why that they're going to win, but I just don't see this team, losing back-to-back weeks. They do have a gauntlet of a schedule ahead. Literally after this game, they have to face Arkansas the next week. So, and then they have to face Alabama in a couple of weeks. So this could be a team, if they don't, pick it up on the offensive side, that this team can start off the season 2-7. That is not out of the realm of possibility, especially with offense. But I'm going to go with Texas A&M at home. I think that Miami showed a little bit of weaknesses against Southern Miss. They did win the game, yes, but they did struggle in the first half. That's been a team that hasn't shown the capability of starting off fast. I know that Texas A&M's offense has been inept, but I'm going to go with the Aggies just because they're at home. I think they're going to be motivated.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And moving into the next conference, we'll go to the Big Ten. Big matchups here. Big Ten SEC matchup here. Number 22 Penn State goes on the road to face Auburn and Jordan Hare. Going to be a great game, I think. Afternoon game in Jordan Hare, so it should be a lively one. Penn State is ranked right now. They did move up to 22 after their pretty decisive win over Ohio. I mean, that was brutal beatdown. But yeah, I think the story for this game is that can Sean Clifford and the Nittany Lion offense show that they can be close to the top team in the Big Ten early in the season and beat an SEC opponent on the road? I think that's the biggest test. It's been a long time since Penn State's played an SEC team on the road, and this is their opportunity. It's going to be loud. It's going to be wild. But I've got belief in Penn State. I think Penn State right there, I think, is the 3-point favorite right now on the road, and I think I'd give them a touchdown in this game, kind of like last year when they played in State College. I think it's going to be one of those. But I'll give it to Penn State, 34. Man, I don't know, 34-27. I think in this one, I think they'll pull it out. I think they have the offense for it.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough road environment. This was a really good game last year. We saw Sean Clifford versus Bo Nix, but now this year's Clifford versus TJ Finley. Auburn last week did not look very good. Tank Bigsby did score a touchdown, but he only had 40 yards rushing. Tank Bigsby, Penn State, that was the reason why they won the game. They absolutely took Tank Bigsby out of the game last year, and they had to – let Bo Nix win the game. And if Bo Nix is a quarterback, then they're going to lose that game every time. But I'm really impressed with Penn State, especially their week 1 win against Purdue and then against the Ohio team that's going to compete in the MAC. They absolutely blew the doors off of them. And Nick Singleton's looking like, the next Saquon Barkley. He had 10 carries on 50 yards and a touchdown. So he had a very good game. I think that the running game against an Auburn defensive front, and Auburn is still a young defensive front. There's still a lot of freshmen and sophomores. It's not the Auburn defense that we've seen in previous years with Gus Malzahn. But I just think that this Auburn team does not know what's coming to them. They will be looking for the revenge factor, as Penn State did get the win last year in the whiteout. But like you mentioned, Penn State is the road favorite here at 3. I'm going to give them more than that. I think it's going to be 31-17. I think that Penn State is just too overmatched. Auburn is too overmatched in this one. Penn State is just a talent disparity in this one. I just think that the better quarterback play as well. I just don't think that TJ Finley is going to have much success against Penn State's defense, especially with JPJ in the secondary, one of the best. So I'm going to go with Penn State on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be an excellent game, and I know I will be watching it for sure. I wanted to go to the game, just I can't afford tickets at $185 a piece. That's a lot of money for tickets to travel for me for 4 hours. But then moving to our next game, Michigan State, ranked number 11 right now, hanging on right now where they are. They go on the road to face off against a very new and improved Washington Huskies team. I think this could be a game to watch. I know this was your upset. I think this was your upset of the week pick.
Yeah.
For this game, and it very well could be. Michigan State looks like they're hanging on. They haven't played anybody really this year, and this is going to be their first test, and I hope they're ready for it because I know Washington will be, and they'll be loud there for a late game at home.
Yeah, I did put Michigan State on upset alert here. I do still have faith in Peyton Thorne. There's no Kenneth Walker anymore, though, in the backfield. So I think that Washington's defense is going to try, put Michigan State, not really focus on the run game, but focus on Peyton Thorne, and the receivers. But I think that this is going to be a very defensive battle. Michigan State's defense is still on par from what we saw for last year's team. And then Washington, the real story in this one is Michael Penix Jr. He has faced this Michigan State team before, and he has this Big Ten experience. This is a tough road trip. Michigan State has traveled out west. They had a couple of games with Oregon. They did have success. I think it was like a 33-30 win whenever Marcus Mariota was the quarterback. So I think that Michael Penix Jr. has really given some life into this Washington team. So I'm going to pick the Huskies to upset Michigan State. They are the 2-point favorite. I think it's going to be a very close battle, a very defensive battle, but I'm going to go 24-23. I think it's going to go down to the wire. Could see a game-winning field goal or something crazy like that. But I'm going to go with Washington. I think they start the season 3-0, and Michigan State fans are wondering why are we overhyped this year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Washington as well in this one. I think they're the pick for me in this one. I'm going to go 21-17. I think they hold on at home. It'd be a great game, and I look forward to it. And moving on to the Big 12, from big to big, a game that's going to be we would have looked at this game last year. It would have made no sense for us to cover it, but this year it's different. Kansas the Jayhawks are going on the road to Houston to face off against the Cougars. I think this will be a great game here. Kansas looks like a completely different ball team this year. It's wild. And I hope they're ready for it. I think it's going to be a close one. I still have Houston winning this game by at least 2 touchdowns, I think. I'm going to go 28-14 in this one. I just think Houston has too many stars on offense and on the defensive end in order for Kansas to pull out a win.
Well, I think this is going to be a high-scoring shootout. Once again, Kansas just put up 56 points on a West Virginia defense that struggled in week 1 against Keaton Slovis. Like you mentioned, like a new head coach, a new era in Kansas. So this new offense is looking really good. The defense pretty much looks the same. They gave up like 42 points in the loss against West Virginia. So I think this is going to be like maybe the high 30s or the low 40s. I think that both quarterbacks are very experienced. Houston has Clayton Tune, a lot of receivers that can beat you downfield. Kansas pretty much has the same thing. Houston just lost to a Big 12 team, so can they go, 1-1, or do they go 0-2? I want to go with Kansas here, but at home, I'm going to go with Houston. But I think it's going to be closer than people think. People are, just picking Houston to run away with this. But I'm going to give Houston the 41-38 win over the Jayhawks.
Wow, very high scoring game. So
yeah, it is.
Take the over in that game for sure.
I don't know what the over is, but it's going to be over. Probably it's like 56.
And our next game and our last game of the Big 12, UTSA and the Roadrunners headed to Austin to face off against the now ranked 21 Texas Longhorns team. Look, this could be a very good game, I think. I think people are going to overlook this game. It might come down to the wire, and I've got it being really close because Texas is without their starting quarterback. Your potential starter for, that we talked about in the offseason was Hudson Card, but this is his opportunity now. He is the starter with Ewers out for a very long time, it looks like. So I think that it's a completely different offense. They struggled to score with Hudson Card on the field, and UTSA is a scoring team. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to go 34-33, and I'm going to give the win to UTSA on the road. I think they have the offense in order to beat this team.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I could see this. This is, Texas is coming off that emotional game. I mean, what I want to know is, like, what is the emotion, after that game going into the week of practice? Because I know, like, these are still, 20-year-olds, and then you have 19, 18-year-olds on this team. It's going to be very hard because I think that most of the Texas players think that they should have had that game. Like, they should have dominated that game if Quinn Ewers wasn't in the game. But now, like you mentioned, Hudson Card, he's going to really he's given the keys for the next, like, 4 to 6 weeks. So in those 4 weeks is going to be the Oklahoma Red River rivalry game. So that really, all the hype around Texas, I think fell apart, especially with Quinn Ewers going down. I believe that Texas definitely has a defensive advantage. I think, though, UTSA has the offense of advantage. I think that this is an experienced bunch. This was a 11-win team last year. I don't know what people are forgetting about UTSA. They did lose to Houston in week 1, but Houston's going to be a team on top of the American along with Cincinnati. I kind of want to go with UTSA here as well, but I just think that Texas's defense is going to have a game plan. I think it's going to be closer than the people think. I don't think that Texas is going to blow them out. I think that Texas in this game, I think they're going to start off very slow because they're still going to have that hangover from the Alabama game. It's a big game. But I'm going to have this game finishing close. I'm going to go Texas 31-24 over UTSA.
Both close picks for us there. And moving out west to the Pac-12, great games here. BYU, like we mentioned, going on the road. They're going to Eugene to play Oregon. This is going to be a good game, I think. BYU has jumped up 10 spots. So they are inside of the top 15 now at 11. And Oregon is now sitting at 25, hanging on barely in the top 25. I think this is a no contest, and I think that BYU absolutely runs over Oregon, even though they're playing in Eugene. I've got it being a 45-14 game, and I don't think BYU is going to let up. Yeah, I think it's going to be a blowout in this one.
Yeah, I really have question mark around Oregon. They get absolutely blown out in week 1 against Georgia. The question I've always been having is Georgia that good, or is Oregon just terrible? Is there just a terrible football team? That's really what I've been asking. So I think that this is going to be the game that, really is a measuring stick for how Oregon finishes the season. Quarterback advantage, obviously BYU. Bo Nix has shown some flashes throughout his college career, but I just think consistency-wise, BYU has that. Defensive-wise, BYU gets that as well. So I'm going to actually go BYU here. I know it's a tough environment. Oregon hardly ever loses at Austin Stadium, but they lose here. I just think that BYU, from top to bottom, literally every category from offense to special teams, BYU is just a better team. Now, the better teams always don't ever win. But I have confidence in BYU. I know that they're coming off an emotional victory against Baylor, but I think they're going to flip the script here, wipe it away. I mean, Kalani Sitake, I think, is one of the most underrated college football coaches. I don't think he gets the respect that the experts think. Experts, say like Nick Saban this and then Ryan Day and all that. But Kalani Sitake is doing a fantastic job because BYU's, turning into one of the powers in the group of 5. And then they're going to be going on to the Big 12. So we saw them face Baylor. We'll be seeing that. But I'm going to go with BYU. I think they win by 2 touchdowns here. I'm going to give them a 38, actually more than that, 38-21 victory over Oregon. I think they're just too overmatched.
Yeah. And the second game there in the Pac-12, Fresno State is going on the road to face off against USC in Pasadena. This is going to be a great game, I think. I know people are going, Fresno State? Really? I'm thinking, yeah, Fresno State, a team that's been ranked in the top 25 for some odd reason. It seems like they've snuck in, and they've played in a lot of bowl games in the last few years. So I think it's going to be a great game. I picked this on our other show to be the upset of the week. It could be the upset of the week. And just for that, I'll have to pick Fresno State to win on the road at USC. I think it's going to be a close game. Shoot, man, it is going to be down to the wire. I'll have it a 3-point victory for them. I'm going to go 40-37. I'll give it to Fresno State on the road.
Well, you have 2 teams on upset alert, Texas and USC both losing. That would send ESPN on an absolute tear raid on Monday next week. But this is not the USC of old. I think this is a new face, especially with Lincoln Riley there. They usually, going back to last year, they got blown out by Stanford. It was a 20-point loss. Now they flipped the script. They put up 41 points on a Stanford defense that it's not the best defense in the Pac-12. Stanford is still a young team, but I mean, the connection between Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison is just becoming the best 1-2 punch in college football. Now, Fresno State has the offense to compete in this game. It's just if can their defense create turnovers, because that's what it's going to take. Fresno State did beat UCLA at UCLA last year. They had a game plan there. So I think they're going to have a game plan here. But I just don't see this one being close. I know that Fresno State coming off the loss to Oregon State, it was a very good game back and forth. But USC, just too much offense. I'm going to give them a 42-28 win over Fresno State.
Yeah. Well, at least you're giving credit to Fresno State with
I think they're going to score, but I was thinking that they won't be able to contain Caleb Williams in this high-powered offense.
They're a red hot team, and
yeah,
and they seem like they struggled a lot in the first half against Stanford. That's why I think if somebody can compete with them for 4 quarters, I think they'll give them a run for their money. And it might be early in the season that happens, and it could shake up a lot of what we see come playoff time. But moving on to seems like the playoff conference, and that is the SEC. Our games of the week here. Mississippi State with a big win out there in Arizona, coming back, and they will be going to Baton Rouge to face off against the LSU Tigers. Great win for LSU last week. It's kind of a no-name win there.
It was expected.
Yeah, I mean, Southern putting up 86 week 1 and then coming back down to reality, and LSU hanging a big fat 57 on them.
65 on them.
65, sorry.
Yeah, they scored 37 points in the first quarter, which broke a school record for the most points scored in a quarter.
Yeah, so
very impressive.
A 65-point game for LSU is something to look out for. Let's see if they can continue that into SEC play. Mississippi State looks really good offensively and defensively. This could be a very grinded out game. I think it's probably a 10-point game. I'm going to give it to Mississippi State on the road. I think Mississippi State is the all-around better team here. LSU struggled against Florida State, and I think that coming home, inferior opponent, was kind of something they want to get their frustration out on. Here for the second home game, Brian Kelly is going to start getting familiar with Baton Rouge and what that crowd's going to be like. This will be the first SEC matchup, so he better get ready for that. And I think the Bulldogs, they've already played a road game, going all the way out there, so they've had a road trip. So I think they're ready. And I'll give it to Mississippi State. I think it's going to be a good game. I'll probably go 28-17 here in this one. I'll give it to the Bulldogs on the road.
Yeah, this is going to be a grinded out game. This series has always come to that. LSU does have the overall record, but that doesn't really matter. I think that Mississippi State has shown that they can compete in this game. Just go back to 2 years ago where they absolutely blew the doors off of LSU, put up 600 yards passing. I don't think it's going to be that much. I think that LSU's defense will have a game plan. Mississippi State has looked very good in the first 2 weeks. Absolute statement wins against Memphis and Arizona. Now Memphis and Arizona are probably going to be teams that are probably middle in the pack of their conferences. I'm not saying that they're going to win the conference, but they are improving football teams, especially Arizona. I mean, Arizona was a team last year that went 0-8 to start the year. So I think that Arizona, you saw it on Saturday night. They hang around with Mississippi State, but just too much offense. I mean, Will Rogers is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, and Mississippi State is also one of the most veteran teams in the SEC. So I think that could be a problem for LSU. I know it's at home. It's going to be Saturday night in Death Valley at 5 o'clock. So the sun's still going to be out, but by the time fourth quarter rolls around, it will be darkness over the stadium. But I think the main key issue I have with LSU is their cornerback play against these receivers because we know that Mississippi State likes to run. They do like to run the ball at times when they can. But Mississippi State is an air raid offense, so Will Rogers is going to throw 40, 50 passes this game. And LSU's defense, had their moments against Florida State when they really struggled against those receivers. I mean, Florida State had a 6'7" receiver, and then they had that trick play where Mekhi Garner didn't know where he was playing defense. So I think that the quarterback play here is probably pretty even. I think that Jaden Daniels has shown me good signs, but Also concerned here, I know I'm going so deep. I mean, you can see in the back that I'm a LSU guy, so I'm going to go into this more. But LSU's offensive line has really struggled, especially against Florida State. And this Mississippi State defensive line has got some dudes on it. So I think this is going to struggle. I know I have the LSU stuff in the back, but I'm going to go Mississippi State in this one. I just think that they're going to be too much for this LSU team. I know that Jacob is so shocked, but
Wow.
I did pick Mississippi State as a dark horse team to potentially win the SEC West in the preseason, especially with I know that they have an insane schedule. Don't get me wrong; they still have to play Bama, still have to play Georgia. So I think this is a swing game for whoever wins this one. If LSU wins, I think 8 wins is still on the card. Mississippi State, if they lose, though, I mean, this season could go downhill. I think this could be a 6-win or 7-win team because their schedule is that tough. But I think I'm going to go Mississippi State. I think they're a more experienced bunch here. I know that LSU has some new faces. I mean, most of these guys haven't even faced SEC competition. So that's my main concern with me. I know that they look good against Southern, but Southern, no offense to them, they're a SWAC school. It's like LSU's here and Southern was way down here on Saturday night. Let's be real. But going to go with Mississippi State. It's going to be a close one. But I'm going to give them the 27-24 win against LSU.
Great game. And it'll be, I think Mississippi State, I think they have the experience. I think
that's going to be a problem. I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I'm an LSU fan. I'm not going to pick them to win every game. I know that they showed really no life in the first half against Florida State. So that's going to be a big concern. I think that if they start fast, they have a shot, but they can't get down against Mississippi State. So I just think LSU has the defensive line to contain if Mississippi State were to run the ball. But I just think that the secondary might have a chance to get exposed in this matchup.
Yeah, and getting off to a fast start in the SEC is very, very.
I think whoever wins this one will be, at the end of it could be that third place or potentially even second place team. The way the SEC West looks very open.
Absolutely. And our team that is leading the way in the SEC and really hadn't played anybody up until this game right here. Georgia's going to have to go on the road and face off against South Carolina. The Gamecocks got a whole new offense now with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. It looks completely different.
Doesn't look good.
Yeah, heck of a weird look. And Arkansas kind of single-handedly took them down pretty easily this week. And it looks like Georgia can walk into this game and walk out unscathed in this one. I think they'll win this game pretty easily. I don't think they have a problem with putting up 45 in this one. So I'm going to go 45-21, and I'll take the Dogs.
Yeah, South Carolina has struggled in both of their games, even against Georgia State. They really struggled coming out the gate. Spencer Rattler, I don't know if he's a guy for South Carolina. They should have just kept on to Ryan Helinski at this rate. Yeah, I mean, South Carolina's defense really struggled against Arkansas. Arkansas put up 44 points against KJ Jefferson. Really had a phenomenal game. Stetson Bennett didn't have to do too much last weekend against Stanford. They put up 33 points. But, yeah, I'm going to go Georgia big in this one. I'm going to go 45-13. I don't think that South Carolina offense has what it takes to score against this Georgia defense. That doesn't really look like they skipped a beat from last year, even though they had like 5 first-round picks. But I'm going to go Georgia big in this one against South Carolina. So sorry, Gamecock fans.
Yeah. And then moving on, drum roll, please. The Group of 5 game of the week here. So the Troy Trojans have to go on the road. They're going to Boone.
College game day, baby. He's going there. That's why I put it on here.
Odd. This is strange, and I'm glad. I'm happy College game day's going. This is fantastic for the game of college football. In the Troy Trojans will be going on the road to Boone, North Carolina to face off against App State. App State is still not ranked, even though they beat the 6th-ranked team in the country. And I think it's only because of their tough game that they had against North Carolina. I think if they win that game single-handedly, outright, pretty easily, I think
North Carolina's looking like a good football team. So
they are, and I warned you early on in the season. I warned you. I said it looks like the ACC. It looks like North Carolina could be a pretty good team in the ACC, and it looks like it is showing early on. But for this game, it could be a blowout. This could be a blowout, and I think it probably will be. App State coming home. off of a big win. I think it'll be a sold out crowd there. And I expect App State to win this one. They put up a lot of points, man, a lot. I'm going to go 52-13 in this one. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's big.
Do we need a bet on this game then?
I think App State wins this game uh, by a lot. I don't see Troy putting up much of a fight in this one.
Wow, that might be Jacob's lock of the week right there. But I think that, like I always say, oh, is this team going to have a letdown? I don't think this is the case here. I think that this team knows that college game day is coming, how big of a spotlight that they're going to get. I know this game's not like nationally televised, but I think that they should have been nationally televised. Looking at the games, there's really not much. I mean, I think that I don't even know the ABC game this week. Let me check real quick. Let's see, the ABC game. I don't even know. Is there even ABC? Oh yeah, it's Michigan State and Washington. Well, I guess that's favorable, but I feel like if you're, college game day is going there, you should, give App State, the national spotlight here of calling it ABC. But that's just me. But Troy, they showed in week 1, they gave Ole Miss a run for their money. They lost that game 28-10. But Ole Miss defense really shut them down. So I don't think that Troy has the offense to really keep up with this. And this is a big game in the Sun Belt. Troy is 1-1. App State is 1-1. So whoever wins this one, could be, could put themselves at the top. I could see Louisiana up there as well. Marshall could be up there. I mean, the Sun Belt, I'm going to say, is the best conference in the damn land right now. Come at me. I mean, but I'm going to go with App State in this one. I think they win pretty handily. I mean, I'm just going to give all the love. App State, growing up, I've loved this team, especially their upset against Michigan. And they're just a school that you can love growing up in college football. So I'm going to go with Appalachian State here. I'm going to go 42-20. I think that App State gets it done here. I think this, they're a 14-point favorite. We might have to put that on our parlay.
We might have to, yeah. I think that's a definite on the parlay there. But that's all for our games of the week. Tyler, I'm going to let you take the news here in a minute.
Yep.
But first, our second sponsor of this show is Righteous Felon Jerky. Head over to www.righteousfelon.com and use promo code OCSN for your 15% off for their beef jerky. They have everything you could think of in the most creative names. I know Chet just went through a whole bag last night of their barbecue style, so I might have to get some of that. So, or I might go through it all. I might get fat, but I need to slim down as it is. So I might have to stay away. But for you folks that do enjoy your jerky, I think this is a great deal for you guys. So head over to righteousfelon.com and use that promo code OCSN for 15% off of your beef jerky. Tyler, go ahead and take it with the news, sir.
Yeah, so we had some big news. I posted this on the description of the show. Big news coming out of Nebraska, and this was pretty warranted, especially after the showing against Georgia Southern in week 2, and then actually in week 3 that was. Actually week 2. I forgot that they played week 0. These week 0 it just like messes up with my head, but I just think that the showing last year going 3-9. This was pretty much like, hey, this is your get it done year or you're gone. And this, they start 1-2. They don't like that in Nebraska. Nebraska, was a powerhouse back in the day in the 90s with Tom Osborne. They named the field after him. Even if, literally last year, whenever Nebraska was 3-9, they packed every game. That the fan base is one of the most loyal fan bases. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be packed going now because now they have to face Oklahoma this week and they're probably going to get the doors blown off of them. But maybe, they show up. Maybe Scott Frost was the problem. But I'm going to read the buyout here. It was he will receive the $15 million buyout. So he receives his money and Nebraska tell him, get the hell out of here. We don't want you anymore. But the buyout amount, look at this, would have dropped to $7.5 million on October 1st. So this actually really says something that Nebraska wanted is to out of here as soon as possible because they could have saved a little bit of money, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late. If October 1st, I'm not saying that this is going to change anything about Nebraska this season, but, this was a team going into this season with a lot of expectations. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit picked Nebraska to win the Big Ten West, which I wasn't really, high on them. I had them going 8-4, but I didn't have them going like 10-2 or 9-3. I think they were going to compete in the Big Ten West, but not anymore. I just think that they're going to be at the bottom, along with Northwestern. I think that Northwestern, we know that game, that win now is fluky. That Northwestern is actually the Northwestern team we thought of the season, now losing to Duke, who's probably going to be in the middle of the pack there in the ACC. But it'll be interesting to see, who Nebraska goes after. I know that they had, Mark Stoops on the possible, but Mark Stoops is not leaving Kentucky. So that's not going to happen. He's built an absolute monster of a program at Kentucky. He's in the top 10. That man is not leaving for a dumpster fire for Nebraska, trying to do it again. So it'll be interesting to see who Nebraska hires. It's probably going to have to be another group of 5 school. Maybe you hire the App State coach. I think that would be a good hire. App State, that coach has proven that he can win big games. Just look at this past weekend. So I think it's going to be the group of 5. I just don't know if you're going to get, a coach like maybe you go after Luke Fickell. Maybe, like throw the fishing pole out to see if he bites at it. But yeah, it's going to have to be probably someone from the group of 5, because I don't think that anyone in the Power 5 level is going to accept the job. But maybe we see a guy like Bill O'Brien, the Alabama OC, take the job as well. I've heard that name as well.
I was just thinking about that too.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe Bill O'Brien. So, but here's the thing. I think if this job is available last year, I think Manny Diaz took this job, to be honest with you. Since it is now available and Nebraska decided to pay full price instead of 50% off on October 1st.
50% off on your new coach buyout.
Yeah, so that is not a sponsor, guys. But yeah, it was an interesting move, and I think it was a statement move by the university. That hurts to get fired by your alma mater. I mean, that does hurt. And I think he just hasn't shown up. What is he, 16-31? I think
16-31. That is not good. I think Bo Pelini had a better record.
I think so.
I think he did. I mean, I think that Nebraska was always like a 8-win or 9-win team. So I don't know why they booted him out so well, but they wanted, the face of Nebraska football and Scott Frost. I think a lot of Nebraska fans thought that, Frost was going to be the savior, especially, after that national championship year at UCF, but he just didn't prove, he can win the big games and, compete in the Big Ten.
No.
All right, so our next news is that Notre Dame's starting quarterback, Tyler Buchner, has a shoulder injury. He's going to miss 4 months. So the question I have to you is how this is going to affect Notre Dame. And let's go through their schedule here real quick. We're going to go through every game, and you give me the win or loss, and we're going to see how this affects. So 4 months. We're in the month of September. So isn't that pretty much the rest of the season that he's out? So, yeah.
It is.
So Notre Dame has already lost to Ohio State 21-10. Then they lost an embarrassment against Marshall. I think Marshall is going to be a team. We've already said it in the Sun Belt that can compete. But if you're in Notre Dame, you can't lose a game like this. So they are 0-2 currently. So do you have them winning this weekend at home against Cal?
Yes, I'll give them a win at home against Cal.
1-2, we have them 1-2. I agree. I think that Notre Dame gets them here. Then they go on the road to your North Carolina Tar Heels, who you're high on. You have them win here.
I don't have them winning. I have the Tar Heels pulling it out at home.
So 2-2. I think that North Carolina's offense would be too much. I think that with a backup quarterback,
it would be 1-3. It would be 1-3.
Yeah, 1-3. My bad. 1-3. So yeah, like the question I have here: how would you generate points to keep up with North Carolina? That's the question. Then they host BYU. Do they get the win here?
No. BYU is too powerful. No, there's no way.
All right. So we have them 1-4. All right. Then they have another home game against Stanford.
I think they can win at home against. I think they can win at home against Stanford. I don't think Stanford is a road-worthy team. I think they can win that. So
they're sitting at 2-4 right now. Then they have a home game against UNLV. Do we have them getting the win against the Run Rebels? All right, so they're 3-4. Now they have a road trip here. Syracuse. This is a team that's looking very good.
I've got Syracuse. I've got Syracuse winning in the Carrier Dome. Well, not the Carrier Dome anymore, but the Dome.
In the Dome. So we have them 3-5. Then they face their next challenge. 5th-ranked Clemson at home. Do they get the win?
There's no possible way. No, I think Clemson is too powerful, and I think I think DJ is ultimately not going to be the answer for Clemson this year, and I think they're going to go to the backup.
All right, so we have them 3-6 in the month of November. Now they go on the road here, annual game here with Navy. Do they take that game?
I think they can beat Navy. Navy's not the team that they were a few years ago. I think they can win that game.
So 4-6, and then they go back home. Boston College. Do they get the win here?
No, I think this is a sneaky game. I think Boston College is better than what they look like. Tough game against Rutgers to open the season. I think that Boston College can win that game.
So 4-7. Now their final game, annual rivalry game at USC. Do they win that game?
There's no way they can beat USC in Pasadena. They'll finish 4-8. There's no way they can beat a Trojans team as powerful as them.
So what would you think that Notre Dame's would feel? 4-8. Marcus Freeman. Are they, heating up his hot seat quite yet? Are they giving him, 1 or 2 more seasons?
I think they'll give him 1 or 2 more seasons. I think it's probably going to be a 3-year stint if he doesn't produce and get them at least a New Year's Six bowl game, and they're not, consistently right there in that New Year's Six slot at the end of the season, or when we get to that point, and they're not in the top 12 and they're competing for a playoff. I think they give him the boot. I don't know if I don't think he's too young, and I think he's mature enough, and I think he knows what the job entails. I mean, he's been there. He's been at top programs, playing for Ohio State, being on the staff at Ohio State and Cincinnati. I think that he knows what the job is. It seems like the team hasn't found out their identity yet. And for Notre Dame not to find their identity at this stage of the ball game, you've had all spring and summer spring to figure it out and summer to figure it out. And you just hadn't yet. And I think it's too little too late for that right now at the start of the season. So, I think they're going to really struggle this year with that schedule.
Yeah, so we have them going from a top 5 team to 4-8, so that would not be a good look. But I agree with you. I don't really think it should fall on the head coach quite yet. I mean, this was only his 3rd game, like I mentioned. It's definitely not a good look to lose at Marshall. I think it's more on the offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees. I don't think he's that great of an offensive coordinator. Notre Dame's offense is just too vanilla. For the 2022 college football season. I mean, Marshall's offense looked way better. They actually, look like an offense. But this Notre Dame offense just cannot put up points, to keep up with a team, and they're going to have like a team like BYU who can score points. They're going to have to go on the road to North Carolina with Drake May, who's going to put up probably 30 points on you. So, there's no way that they have the offense to generate. If they get into a shootout, they can't really afford that because their offense is so vanilla. So I think the OC needs to go.
Yeah, I think it's time for some change early in the season in South Bend.
Something's got to change because this Notre Dame fans, they, see themselves as one of, the best programs in all of college football. I believe they are. They definitely have this history, but just really hasn't shown, the past couple of years. I mean, they made the playoff. Whenever Brian Kelly was there, but every year, every time they get there, they just get absolutely blown out.
Yeah, I think it's a tale of the tape, and it's one where the 100 Years team is looking like they're starting to fall apart.
Yeah.
But folks, that's going to be it for our show here. If you guys want to follow us, check us out on Facebook at CFB Coast to Coast or on Twitter at CFB_Coast to Coast. Man, it's going to be a good week 3, a crazy week 2. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of conference play and what's going to happen here. And I'm looking forward to it. And we'll be rolling out our parlay for the week soon enough. And I think it's going to be well anticipated to see what some of these teams do and if they can stake their claim to be atop of their conference. But guys, you can see us again next Monday afternoon around 3:00. You can see us again for our week 3 recap and the preview for week 4. Thanks, Tyler, for joining me again. And we will see you guys next time.